My name is Jerry, and today my partner George and I will be affirming the resolution resolved that the U.S. federal government should substantially increase space exploration through the support for unmanned space travel. We will debate strictly on the topic of manned versus unmanned space travel. First of all, I would like to define unmanned. Unmanned is defined as without the physical presence of people in control by dictionary.com. Conversely, manned is defined as carrying one or more persons. The affirmative believes that unmanned space travel is more practical than manned space travel because of unmanned missions capabilities, time required for research and development, and cost for running these missions. Contention 1. Unmanned missions have greater capabilities than those of manned missions. Unmanned missions are becoming more and more practical as the technology advances. I'd like to quote astronomer Martin Weeks, former president of the Royal Society. The moon landings were an important impetus to technology, but you have to ask the question, what is the case for sending people back to space? I think that the practical case gets weaker and weaker with every advance in robotics and miniaturization. It's hard to see any particular reason or purpose in going back to the moon or indeed sending people into space at all. Unmanned Unmanned spacecraft are more fit for doing rough or even dangerous missions. Take the Mars exploration rovers, for example. These rovers must travel miles along Mars' rocky and barren surface, enduring dust storms that could last for months. Also, unmanned spacecraft are not carrying any humans, so they do not require life support systems, allowing for lighter and smaller spacecraft while also increasing the payload. Furthermore, unmanned spacecraft can travel faster and go farther because they are not restricted by human limitations. For example, the farthest location ever reached by man is the moon. However, probes like Voyager, New Horizon, and Helios are traveling where no human may ever go, and traveling tens of thousands of miles per hour. Contention 2. Unmanned missions require less time for research and development than manned missions. According to NASA, Explorer 1, America's first satellite launched into space, took only 4 years to develop and launch. On the other hand, the moon landing took around 14 years to develop and complete. According to Space.com, Space Shuttle Discovery took roughly 5 years to build and launch. Conversely, the Mars rovers Spirit and Opportunity each took around 1 to 1.5 years to build, as stated by Todd Barber, an engineer of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Since unmanned spacecraft can accomplish more while taking less time compared to manned spacecraft, unmanned space travel is clearly the more viable option. However, I want to add one more reason. Contention 3. It is more cost-efficient to conduct unmanned missions. Apollo was one of NASA's most expensive programs, costing roughly $25.4 billion, according to NASA. Adjusted for 2010 inflation, Apollo would have cost over $190 billion. Another extremely expensive space venture was the Space Shuttle program, which officially ended last year, costing $209.1 billion, according to Space.com. It cost nearly $1.6 billion for each flight of the program's 135 launches. Just 2 flights could pay for the cost of the current Mars rover en route to Mars, Curiosity, which cost $2.5 billion, according to Huffington Post. The Hubble Space Telescope, one of, if not the most, expensive unmanned missions by NASA, cost nearly $10 billion, according to NPR, which is only equivalent to 6 space shuttle flights. And what did the space shuttle program really accomplish? The only thing space shuttles really did was carry cargo to and from space. However, I'm not implying that manned missions are bad. However, some of these manned missions' purpose and practicality versus cost must be reevaluated. As Space.com asks, was the space shuttle program really worth it? Or put another way, could NASA have found a better use for that $209 billion? In conclusion, unmanned space travel is more practical than manned space travel because of unmanned missions capabilities, time required for research and development, and cost for running these missions. Unmanned missions can achieve much more than manned missions in less time and with a lower cost. Because of this, the United States federal government should focus more on unmanned missions. Thank you, and thank you.